Okay. Okay, and we are back. We're on to try another beer here at the BrewPill. What is it right now?
We've got Swamphead Brewery Wild Night Honey Cream Ale.
Honey Cream Ale. How much is it?
5% alcohol by volume.
Does it have an IBU? IBUs are always fun because I never think they're right. It's how bitter something is. It's got a story.
Let's see.
Obviously, it's not that bitter.
It's a creaminess.
Yeah. So we ready? You want me to pour it? You got it?
We poured the last one.
Okay.
I
So
won't take as long getting into this one, though.
so any big revealers on this week's Game of Thrones? So if you watch stuff, we hope not to spoil it. We could talk about Endgame if you want.
Okay.
But I don't know if people want to talk about Endgame.
Well, actually, the official...
The official. Along the rivers, in the fields, and through the forests of Florida, thousands of bees are hard at work, producing some of the sweetest honey in the world. We like to think they're proud that all of their hard work has ended up in our award-winning honey cream ale. Yeah, because bees really care. Swamphead, I like Swamphead beers myself.
That's interesting.
You can definitely smell the honey.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely taste honey. It's almost like a mead.
Yeah. I wonder if it straddles that line.
Might be. What did you say, like 4.5 or
5?
5%? Oh,
Yeah.
That's surprising. Usually they're less than 5.
But the official request from was the Russo brothers.
And wait till Monday or something like that.
Monday
so.
it lifts. So the official ban.
But I'll be just interested in what they're going to do with certain characters from this point.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about that earlier. We already know there's a Doctor Strange 2. That's not a Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
A Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
We already know the Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be the next one out this year. So some people are going to say that that's even better. We'll see.
That almost to me seemed like a marketing fail.
What?
They advertised Spider-Man Far From Home before the events of Endgame.
Well, they never said before. You're assuming. And now you know the Endgame, you kind of can fit it in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, if we tape one the next week or two of these, I have a couple of things to discuss with you on camera. We'll talk them off camera. But it's really interesting. I like the ending. Tonight, when Spencer came over, we had the original first Iron Man because my son had never watched the first Iron Man, so he kind of started him off late with the Ant-Man movies and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then through Infinity War and Endgame. But he was happy to see the characters. And so now we're going back and seeing if he, at 6, can understand the whole thing.
I'm a fan of Power Rangers, like the original ones.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. And my daughter just started kind of poking her head into that on Netflix. She'll turn it on here and there. But she doesn't call them the Power Rangers. At first it was the Color Strangers.
The Color Strangers.
Yes, and then the other day she came down and said, I'm watching the Color Rangers.
It's not bad, though. I mean, I always thought Power Rangers was an interesting concept, but then I tried to watch it and I just saw rubber suits because I was a little too old for it.
You had to be a kid. I've noticed that. I've tried to go back and watch them, and there's some hardcore fans that will still watch them, and they're like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing ever." And I'm like, I try and go back, and I'm like,
One of my favorite shows of the '80s was Airwolf, which is obviously before your time.
I've heard of it. I haven't.
Okay, Airwolf was like the coolest helicopter. They had a movie called Blue Lightning, which was about a cool helicopter, and they made a TV show, and then they had Airwolf, and Airwolf, to me, design-wise, was cooler, and it had Jan Michael Vincent as the lead actor, and then it had Ernest Borgnine as his co-pilot. And it had this cool freaking music. If you ever look up, that's the coolest thing was the music of Airwolf. Dun 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 dun. It was almost like a Star Wars. It was very epic, the music. And I tried to go back and watch it, and you're like, wow, they cut and pasted a lot of things together back then.
Well, it's like kind of on the same theme of the show. Did you ever watch Thunder in Paradise?
No, because it had Hulk Hogan in it.
Oh, see, when I was younger, I watched that and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. They had this boat that could do anything, you know. And I tried to go back and watch it, and I was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life."
I'm not going to bad talk Hulk because Hulk has done a lot of good things for wrestling, and he seems like a decent person. I don't really know him or anything, but he was over the top.
Yeah. And
it was like when he became a bad guy, everyone was so surprised. I'm like, really? Every wrestler out there has been a bad guy at some time. So to me, it wasn't surprising. I miss those days of wrestling. That's when I got into wrestling again. Is with the WWF and the WCW, and it was they were going head to head with the Monday Nitro and the Raw, and that was like this moment that I don't think they could ever replay in wrestling because there was actual competition. And I don't think my son will ever have those times because this wrestling is on an out phase, really. I mean, they got Raw and SmackDown, but they're owned by the same people.
Yeah. I never got into wrestling because when I was introduced to it, I was young, and it was by my uncle, and he was really into it. But I never understood the concept of what was going on.
Soap opera.
Well, there's this story going on, but for me at that age, it was like there weren't any... It all took place to me in the same place, the ring. And so I was just like, this is boring. Nothing really ever goes on. They fight each other, and they yell at each other, somebody gets smacked, and, that's it. So I never really got into it, but...
Yeah. It's okay. It took me, like I said, when I was a kid, I really didn't get into it. There's a lot of different people, and then when I got older, it was like different stages, It's like I remember when Hulk Hogan was the good guy, and I remember, I think it was Bob, I can't remember his name. Bob something was a champion. And he didn't look like a champion, he looked like a skinnier guy. And the Iron Sheik beat him. And there was political troubles around the world, so the Iron Sheik being a bad guy and being the world champion of wrestling, it was like everyone, and then Hulk came in there, and Hulk, and it was just like, it was, flags and stars and stripes and America. The big theme of a lot of the 80s with Reagan as president was America. Yeah. People like to quote Bush, America. But the Reagan era was a lot of America. And that's kind of the thing as you become an adult afterwards, is you go back and all the stuff you grew up with, which thought was a great time, and you see the facts behind it, and you're like, get kind of depressed that...
Yeah.
That's climate of politics, is you always want the best for your country. And sometimes you're either too much in or too much out. I don't know. But wrestling, to me, it was a fun time when it lasted. And some people, like you were saying with Power Rangers, getting back to Power Rangers, we tried to watch the new movie, and because his papa recorded it, like, we'll watch Power Rangers, and we tried to. He couldn't get into it, and I couldn't get into it. And I was like, it's just not the right time, and it's not...
I liked the new movie, and I really want them to make a second one, but they changed a lot of the stuff in there. And I hear recently I've been watching a lot of videos on Power Rangers and where it came from and stuff like that. Don't do that. It depresses you so much, because just with that, I found out that the original filming of all that stuff, it's stuff from the 70s. From Japan. They just reused that footage. And I didn't realize how old it was, but you go back and, I've watched a couple of the, it's like...
It's like Godzilla era.
Yeah, you watch it and it's like, now I get why, it looks so crappy. But at the same time, it's like, they kind of chinsed out when they could have, done something good with this storyline, so...
But I think they did what they could. They went for a cheaper budget, and a lot of the kids bought into it. I mean, and I can't fault him for that.
Yeah. Fun fact, did you know that's where Bill Cranston got his start?
Really? Is that why he did get the comeback?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He played a couple of the different monsters in the rubber suits. He did the voices and stuff like that, and that's why the original Blue Ranger, his name was Billy Cranston.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Okay, and we'll be back after these commercial messages. Another beer. This is, no, it's a foamy.
It's
Yeah.
Very foamy. White Magic of the Sun. I guess the head is the White Magic.
By Voodoo Brewery. Okay. It's been sitting in the fridge for a while, so I don't know if that's the issue or...
It's still going.
It is a unfiltered 7.9%. It doesn't taste bad at all, I don't think.
Oh. Don't think that is it tasting bad. No, it was just... Oh. I don't know what that was. It tastes good.
You weren't expecting a lot of head.
Yeah.
Our story... We at Voodoo Brewing Company have taken over 2 decades of Matt's brewing experience, whoever Matt is. So obviously Matt is a head master brewer at Voodoo. The story there that I can't read right now because...
Oh, God, that head is just like...
So anything else that's been this week? Are you farting?
No, that head, I don't know what the deal is, man. Whew.
We've covered the Sonic. We haven't got into Endgame because we won't until the ban is...
The official ban.
Yes.
I'll touch a little bit on Game of Thrones.
If you want to.
I don't want to spoil anything, but...
Game of Thrones is a little bit more accessible to people without spoiling.
We had the Battle of Winterfell this past Sunday.
The battle!
I mean, it was...
I've already heard one spoiler that I can't tell my wife.
What was your spoiler?
Arya killed the Night King.
Yes.
But I don't think that's over.
I
think they're going to throw you for something tomorrow.
They probably will. But
that'll be too easy. How many more episodes you got?
There's 3 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... What got me was, we've got, like, Daenerys, who's, like, the Dragon Queen. She's got this ginormous army, 100,000 soldiers, and the soldiers she brought to Winterfell for the Battle of Winterfell were all just murdered to death. Just
murdered to death. They weren't just murdered, they were murdered to death.
Murdered to death, you know.
So murder wasn't good enough.
Yeah, shout out to I don't know his tag on YouTube, but he calls himself Nate. I watch his videos, and that's his thing, murdered to death.
Murdered to death.
Now
I heard there was a complaint about it's too dark. Like, they went cheap. Like, you have to rewatch it because it's so dark on some parts of it. They were questioning if that's how they save money on special effects.
They did. But it was part of the mythos and part of what was coming.
Yeah,
because
there's several episodes in the seasons that are that dark, aren't there?
Yeah, but this was. They've all been talking about the long night.
Okay.
The long night, and this was the long night.
Okay.
The army of the dead showed up, and they stood their ground against them, and I mean it was.
Well, they threw you the first episode of this season. I saw parts of that where Jon Snow finally found out at the end where he was confronted that he was the legitimate heir to the throne.
Yes.
Meaning that he was related to the woman he's in love with.
He is the nephew of the woman he's been banging.
Which is kind of weird because they're the same age.
Yeah.
You know?
So, well, see, her brother was far older than her.
Oh, yeah.
Her older brother.
And her older brother wanted to kill Jon Snow, right?
No.
Or whoever the legitimate son was. I don't think he knew it was Jon Snow.
No, basically, no. What it was the guy who ended up becoming the king after the rebellion. It was Robert's rebellion. He was trying to kill off every Targaryen he could find.
Okay.
And the ultimate good guy of the series, Ned Stark, who died in the first season...
He adopted or took over responsibility?
Well, he was going after his sister. His sister was kidnapped in this rebellion or whatever.
They weren't sleeping together.
Or so he thought.
Okay.
So he thought. But when he got to her, what he found out was this Targaryen, who was the legitimate heir to the throne after his father... he and Ned Stark's sister had fallen in love, and they got married in secret, and she got pregnant. And when he finally got to her, she gave birth, and she was like, hey, you need to take care of my son, and if Robert finds out he's a Targaryen...
He's going to kill him.
He's going to murder him to death.
Yes, to death. Once again, murdered to death. Not murdered halfway.
So he takes him back to Winterfell, his home, and he was like, hey... honey, by the way, while I was out, I banged some chick, and here's our illegitimate son, Jon Snow.
Okay.
And that was his way of covering up who he actually was and taking care of him, make sure he didn't die. So he took a hit to his, altruistic super good guy, persona.
Your head's died down now on this white magic of
the magic
sun.
died.
Wheat ales with spices, imperial wheat ale. So it's not really an IPA. It tastes better once
after that head is gone. It tastes pretty good. Oh, I always like when beer companies do that. They tell you what glass to put this in.
That it really matters, and I appreciate it when you see a bar that actually knows. There's certain bars that have them lined up, the glasses with the certain ales, because it does matter.
World of Beers, they do that.
Do they?
Yeah. I
need to go back in. The only problem I have with World of Beer is the price.
Oh, yeah, their price is out there. But,
I mean, it's bad enough to pay.
And they don't tell you. They don't tell you on the menu.
Price.
They're like, which beer would you like? And you're like, oh, this sounds amazing. This. And they bring it out, and next thing you know...
$13.
Yeah.
No offense.
So...
That's the hardest thing for me as a consumer, is to pay a certain price for a beer. And they're going to well, it's done with these exquisite hops and these exquisite, you know what I'm saying, and this, and we brewed it over.
And I love the fact that they take beer seriously.
Oh yeah, you got
it's not the side note to all the liquors they got.
Yes,
that's their thing as beers, So, but
it's like $9 for a pretzel too, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And I like pretzels myself at Mellow Mushroom. Shout out to Mellow Mushroom with the fresh pretzels that are awesome with the beer cheese. But
yeah. But World of Beer does have those competitions that you almost won.
Oh yes, I did, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
For that, I was just holding a beer stein. I got a beer stein. You have to hold it the longest.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which sounds easy.
It's not,
but it's not.
But shout out to beers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna. World of Beer is a great place.
Yeah.
You got to have the budget though.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. If you want the good beers, you got to have a budget.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're going out.
Yes.
If you go to buy them yourself, if you know what you're going for,
you can save money.
You can save a lot of money. I mean, it's the same thing as with liquor. I mean, that's like going to a bar and buying Jaeger, $6 a shot.
But you can buy a bottle
for like $11 and have all the shots you want. So.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole thing. Is be budget minded.
Yeah.
When you consume alcohol.
Yeah.
And be responsible. It's easier. The background, this is not CGI. This is a real house. We're in the back of the house.
Yes, this is not extra dark because of Game of Thrones.
Or is it?